Kyrie Irving's massive night for the Dallas Mavericks delivers a win at the AAC. We'll break it all down. Coming up next on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys, cover your favorite team every single game night. Really appreciate you joining us here on DLLS Sports. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe while you are here as the Mavericks get a gritty win at home over the Golden State Warriors, 111-107. Kyrie Irving with 42 points, going 7 of 10 from downtown, powers the Mavericks to a win. Najee Marshall with the go-ahead bucket with 25 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Max Christie knocking down a couple of free throws to ice it for the Mavericks. They improved to 29-26 on the season and 2-1 on this current 4-game homestand. We'll break it all down here for you over the course of the next hour. Plus, we'll be joined by our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato, live from the American Airlines Center coming up next segment. And later on in our show, we'll be joined by our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, with the latest on Anthony Davis. But, Bobby, it was a fun night at the AAC, a team that was severely shorthanded, no centers, no power forwards, but yet and still Kyrie Irving was the man taking charge and led this Mavericks team to a victory tonight, a much-needed one at home.
Unbelievable performance from Kyrie, dude. Unbelievable. 42 points on 25 shots. Like you said, he made 7 threes. He did not miss any of his 5 free throw attempts. He was the second leading rebounder on the team, despite being the shortest guy on the floor for all of the 39-24 that he played. Light night in the minutes department for Kyrie.
Not a 40-minute night, almost.
As compared to late, dude, I mean, he was just unbelievable. He was unbelievable. That flurry he had in the third quarter when he made 3 threes in less than a minute was just, I mean, we were like, and then he took the one from midcourt, and it barely missed.
3.
Barely missed. And we were about ready to blow the roof off this place. But, yeah, I mean, he was just unreal. Absolutely unreal. He went to that special place, and they needed every point, man. I mean, other guys stepped up, and we'll heap praise on them, but none of it matters unless Kyrie is Kyrie effing Irving tonight. I mean, that was special. That was special.
Kyrie scoring 27 of his 42 points in that second half. That gives him back-to-back games with at least 30 points. He was the man leading them offensively tonight. The Mavericks had 5 guys in double figures. Klay Thompson got off to a good start in the first half. He finished the game with 17 points. Max Christie, another strong game with 17 points himself. We mentioned Najee Marshall with the 10 points in the go-ahead bucket with 25 seconds left in the fourth quarter. And Brandon Williams was the other guy in double figures tonight. Excellent game for him with 12 points on the night for Dallas. Hit a couple of threes, had a nice little layup where he faked it, the pass with his right hand, finished with the left hand at the rim. Brandon Williams was excellent in this game. Steph Curry finished the game with 25 points for Golden State. Jimmy Butler had 21 as well for the Warriors on this night. Mavericks shooting 47% from the field, 41% overall from 3. Warriors shot just 42% from the field and 28% from 3. The Warriors smoking about 6-7 layups tonight, felt like, throughout the course of the evening. Because when you look at kind of the box score and go through some of it, I mean, the Warriors dominated in terms of second chance points. They out-rebounded the Mavericks by 13. They dominated in terms of points in the paint, but it was the Mavericks who made the plays in the right time at the right moment to be able to get this done. Kyrie Irving even taking a charge on Jimmy Butler that negated a basket that would have tied the game. Kyrie Irving leading and doing a little bit of everything, but making the right plays at the right time. And I think that was a really good example of what he did in the fourth quarter there.
Yeah, it's not just that they got dominated in the second chance points battle department. The Warriors had 22 more second chance points than the Mavs.
Yes.
They had 33 second chance points in this game. almost 1 out of every 3 points the Warriors scored as a team tonight came after they already missed a shot on the possession. I mean, again, the Mavs had 0 centers, and if you consider Omax a power forward, I guess they had 1 power forward. Otherwise, they had 0 power forwards playing this game. The Mavs had 7 guys on the injury report. They have 14 players on full-time contracts. All 7 guys that were out are on a full-time contract. One of the guys that's on a real contract that was available tonight, Jaden Hardy, has basically been relegated to like the shadow. Like, he's barely on the team anymore. This was Brandon Williams and Kessler Edwards combining to play 47 minutes in this game. Those are 2 two-way players.
Yeah.
But it was all of the things, like, you would think that a team facing these kind of odds and these kind of circumstances would only be able to win games with like the heart and the hustle, right? But like, the Warriors dominated all the hustle stats. The Warriors took more free throws. They got more rebounds. The Warriors and Mavs committed the same number of turnovers. The Warriors had more points off turnovers. They were plus 22 in second chance points. Like, all of the little 50-50 plays, all of those extra chances, all of the things that you can do to put yourself in a position to win, the Warriors destroyed the Mavs in. And yet
they found a way. They found a way to win. I mean, and that's what you got to do in games like this. And no, I'm not upset that the Mavericks won this game. I saw someone commenting that we are mad that the Mavericks won this game. I'm not upset that the Mavericks won this game. They needed to win this game to continue, and what will now guarantee them, they will now finish above 500 in their pre-All-Star break schedule, even with the result for tomorrow night. So give this team a lot of credit, and we'll talk about it more as the show goes on. But one of the things that we had to make sure that we discussed on this post-game show, give Jason Kidd a ton of credit for the way that he continues to have this team prepared, no matter who's in or who's out of the lineup. This team has come to fight every single night, and despite adversity, injury, everything that this team has gone through, change in personnel, obviously, Jason Kidd has had this team prepared, ready to play, and they've played hard for him throughout the course of the year. And tonight was yet another example of a team that did not show any quit and was not going to let go of the rope, even when there were opportunities to do so. This team remained resilient tonight, and they deserve a lot of credit. And their head coach setting that tone, I think, is a guy that needs to get a lot of credit for that as well.
Yeah, with everything going on, and there's a lot going on, all right? You can look at the injury report. You can look at the transaction log. You can read the Dallas Morning News. You can check Twitter. There's a lot going on with this team right now in and around the locker room. And what this team needs more than anything, first off, is healthy bodies. But beyond that, it needs leadership. It needs something holding it all together. And I want to shout out Passionate Pearl, who just dropped a super chat before I get to Kidd. Passionate Pearl said, first off, thank you for your super chat. Really appreciate that, Passionate Pearl. But just because Supreme Kai, great nickname for Kyrie. Supreme Kai and the heart of this team. Kyrie is setting the tone in his own way. He's scoring 42, but also drawing a charge to help win the game. He is commanding double teams on one end, but also finishing second on the team and rebounding on the other. So, like, your star player, your only healthy star right now, is leading the charge. And then beyond that, it's Jason Kidd. And we talked about this after the last game. Despite a very frustrating result against the Kings, a game where the Mavs led inside the final 5-10 seconds in both the end of the fourth quarter and overtime, but still lost. I was kind of just like despondent, but I said, like, it's impossible as Jason Kidd to formulate a game plan on a night-to-night basis because you have no idea who's going to be available. And usually the players who are available are playing a position they're not suited for. Like, Omax is not a center. Kessler Edwards is not a starter. He's a two-way player. He's barely even an NBA player, but he's playing 33 minutes tonight against Steph Curry.
I mean, that's no shade. That's just what it is.
No. But like, how do you as a coach, like, how do you motivate your players, let alone like sit down and think, how am I going to win this game? How am I going to crack this code? And like the fact that J-Kidd is even able to like get out of bed in the morning speaks volumes about his determination. But he has these guys fighting their ass off, and there have been times. There were a lot of times, I would say it happened more often during the Rick era, but there have been times during the J-Kidd era where it just doesn't look like, it doesn't feel like the players are, emotionally and physically ready to go. And I always make the case, I don't believe that's a coach's job. A coach's job is not to motivate millionaires to go work hard. Like, they should just kind of know to do that. But I do think a coach's job is to remain steady in the face of unreal amounts of adversity, historic levels of tumult and noise and circus off the floor and even in your own gym. This is like never happened before around here, what's going on around this team right now. And the fact that they even seem remotely steady and is a huge tip of the cap to Kyrie and J-Kid because, man, I mean, this thing could have gone sideways at so many different points over the last couple weeks, and yet they're still fighting every night.
Yeah, the fact that this team is 3 games above 500 with 1 game to go before the All-Star break, I mean, it's honestly remarkable given what has been well chronicled, the changes to this team, the massive trade of their superstar to Los Angeles, obviously. But as you mentioned, Bobby, the unprecedented injury situation that this team has dealt with. There are games that they should have won that they didn't, and games like this where you didn't feel like maybe necessarily even how shorthanded that they were, but they would come in and win a game like this. But they got off to several big starts in this game, whether it be the first quarter, second, third quarter, which we'll get to a little bit later on in the show as well. But for them to be able to continue to find ways to make the necessary plays at the key moments, led by Kyrie Irving, that just shows you the kind of leadership that they're getting, not only from their head coach, but also the superstar that they have now left outside of Anthony Davis, obviously, taking the cues from him and ensuring that the rest of the guys, no matter who's in or who's in and out of the lineup, are playing to the tone that Kyrie Irving is setting. And even beyond the points, the rebounds, the assists, the taking of charges, that to me is huge that Kyrie continues to show that leadership, and they're going to need that for the remainder of the season if they want to remain in an opportunity to potentially get to the playoffs here.
Yeah, I mean, you got to stay healthy. Like,
yeah.
Every time Kyrie takes
and he's
a
doing
charge,
he's doing this with a bad back right now.
Yeah. It's like, oh my God, like, please. That was great, but please don't do it too many more times. You have to make it to the finish line. But, you got bigs with broken feet. You got bigs with ambiguously injured groin areas or adductors, whatever that means. You got another big that has a sprained knee but won't even be evaluated for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of reasons why this team would be broken, but without getting too like sentimental or whatever, like their spirit ain't broken. Like they're fighting, and that's not just Kyrie either, because like it'd be one thing if Kyrie went like full Kobe mode, like just killing himself out there and dragging these guys. But like there was no dragging tonight. Like Kyrie was leading the charge. He was on the front line. Like he was the first guy to dive into the fracas. But like every single guy that played joined.
Yeah.
And I think, the one thing J-Kid can't just completely lose his mind on these guys right now because everyone's hurt and no one's playing the role that they're supposed to. But the one thing J-Kid has done over the last week and a half is if you're not out there playing hard, your ass will be glued to the bench.
Yeah, you're gonna sit down
before the next stoppage. Like he'll like take you out himself, like while the play's going on, and sit you down. And he is setting the tone in that way. Like shot goes in, shot misses. They miss, they score. You can't control what the ball's gonna do, Josh Howard. But what you can do is control what you're doing. And J-Kid has demonstrated he has no patience for guys that aren't mentally and physically engaged in the action right now.
Let's get to a couple super chats before we take our first break here. We'll start with Arturus Gregor with the $2 super chat. Kai is amazing, and can we say Kid is coach of the year?
How about this? If the Mavs get a top 4 seed, J-Kid coach of the year, easy lock.
Yeah, for sure. I would.
But unless other than that, no shot.
Right. Let's get to Will before we take our first break here with the $2.99 super chat. I'm gonna let you read that one. Go ahead.
Cormac Carl. That's Max Christie's legal name. Got some clamps, looking like the glove. That's right. And Gary Payton II was in the house tonight, and he looked like a football player, almost tackling a fan courtside on accident. The physicality of this game is out of this world. Mad Max did make a couple blunders at the end of the game. We'll talk about those a little later on whenever we start killing the buzz. Mm-hmm. But, he played great again for 3.75 quarters.
For sure. Strong start.
And made the free throws at the end.
That's right. Made the free throws to ice the game in the end for the Mavericks. Let's take our first break here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. When we come – oh, my bad. When we come When we come back, we'll welcome in our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato, live from the American Airlines Center to give us his thoughts on tonight's win for your Dallas Mavericks. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs postgame show.
But first, I got to tell you about my newest enemy, Draymond Green. He only took 1-3 tonight, and he missed it. So my sleeper pick of the night actually did not hit. I got the Kyrie PRA. I got the Steph points, but I did not get the Draymond 3. But oh well, I will try harder again next time. And I'm doing it all in sleeper, where I and you can put your ball knowledge to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite Draymond players will have more or less than their projected stats every single night. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLS Mavs to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. You can apply it to any contest. You want to play along with me, you want to do it on your own, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be your first. Once you do make that account and deposit some cash, you can do it whenever you want. Just check the terms and conditions before you do. See Sleeper's terms of use for detail. Is currently operational in over 25 states, including Texas. Check out Sleeper today.
And with the money you win with Sleeper, you can buy yourself a nice cool of sunglasses through Shady Rays. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all of your outdoor adventures. Hundreds of options to choose from as well, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. They even probably have a pair that you would love in your favorite team's colors as well. If your Shady Rays ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements as well. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself these shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people today. Let's welcome in our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato, live from the American Airlines Center. You can find him on X at Tim_Cato as the Mavericks get the 111-107 win over the Golden State Warriors. Kyrie Irving, sensational with 42 points, going 7 of 10 from downtown, taking a late charge in this game as well. Najee Marshall with the go-ahead bucket with 25 seconds left delivers the win for the Mavericks, Tim, a team now 3 games above 500 as they get ready for their final game before the All-Star break. A good win for a team that was extremely shorthanded coming into tonight's game against Golden State.
Oh, an incredible win. Best one of the season. Yet again. Best one of the year. Kyrie was amazing. That was, I mean, this is a guy who is an all-star, now literally. But, he's playing like one. The most impressive stat from tonight, however, do you guys know what it might be? He played fewer than 40 minutes. 39 minutes, 59 seconds. Jason Kidd was very quick to point that out. And after the whole, I'm using enormous quotes here, fiasco of him not showing up, again, I think his explanation was understandable, and even the league felt like, he can get away with this one. But there was a funny moment where I think a lot of press got held up by, just by tunnel security. Things hadn't cleared out in time. So there was 3 of us, Brad Townsend and Christian Clark from The Athletic and me. So it was very quick. Jason Kidd got in there, and he spoke to almost no media yet again. But yeah, he came in and he obviously praised Kyrie and just talked about how the veteran leadership of him and Klay Thompson has really been carrying the team right now. I did ask if he's going to play tomorrow, and Jason Kidd said that was a great question. And that's all he said. So we're not sure.
Okay.
I mean, at least he complimented you.
Hey, my job is to ask great questions, and his job is to provide answers. Sometimes great, sometimes just answers.
What else stood out for you tonight in tonight's win for the Mavericks? A lot of guys contributing. Brandon Williams, I thought, was excellent tonight as well. What else stood out for you from tonight's game?
This is still, so it's weird. Like, obviously, Dallas makes this huge trade, and everybody is talking. There's almost like a conversation happening that this group of players is different than the group of players they had before. When the only player who is different that we haven't been watching for the past month is Max Christie. And this team's going to lose some games because they are just not equipped to handle this many absences, just like any team is. But this is still the deepest team I think we've ever seen. That thing that we were saying about this roster before the trade deadline, before Luka, before everything, still is true. And, I look up and down, and clearly there are some players who didn't, fully contribute tonight. But those players didn't play that much, and other players stepped in their roles. Even Kessler Edwards, nominally as the center, and Jason Kidd joked, maybe that should be his position with the way that he really fought and provided minutes, productive minutes tonight, especially defensively. This is a really impressively deep roster that, when they have no other choice. And we talked to Max Christie. Kyrie hasn't talked yet, which is why I'm doing this early. Also, it's late. But, Max Christie was like, there's no other choice but to get out there and fight. The guys who are available are the guys who are going to play. And I think Dallas really responded in that way. And it's really standing out right now in this stretch. Yes, it's surprising, given how many bodies were out that Dallas got the win tonight. But on the flip side, I do think that there is a mental boost to recognizing and realizing that, this is all you got. This is the group. You got to go out and earn it. You got to win it. And it's impressive what Jason Kidd is doing. It's impressive what this group is doing. It's been impressive even throughout January. This is a team that rallied and won. They had some bad losses mixed in there, obviously. And I think they're going to still have some bad losses as long as this team is essentially the same team that was losing games in January. But that same team in January was getting wins that we didn't expect them to get. This team is still fighting hard. This is the same team that was also doing things as impressive as this throughout the month of January. And so kudos to them. Nothing has changed. This is still a team that is punching above where it should be in a lot of instances. And that's really impressive.
Yeah, I think the thing that stands out to me is I don't think that it's possible for them to have a bad loss right now, unless it's to the Wizards or something, because that is kind of where I rate them. I don't really rate this Mavs team as currently constructed, with no healthy big men of note. I don't rate them as a playoff caliber team. So whenever they win a game, it's whoa. But it doesn't seem like they view it that way. It seems like they still view themselves, no matter who's playing, as a playoff caliber outfit. And KG and I in the last segment were talking about I think part of that comes from Kyrie, but I think part of that comes from Kidd. But also maybe they're just really, really cocky. I really don't know. I just don't know how they have the self-belief to be we're gonna win this game.
Yeah. And obviously, if Kyrie isn't 15 or 25, there wasn't enough left for the rest of the rest of the roster did enough, but they needed a heroic Kyrie effort. And that is obviously, as we all understand, going to be the concern and going to be the potential shortcoming for this team in the months, in the weeks to come, as they're still going to have to deal with, a lot of players absent. At least, it seems like even coming out of the All-Star break, I don't think anybody's sure how many of the big men who are out right now are going to be back for that. But yeah, absolutely. I think Max Christie said it well, and his mentality kind of sums up a lot of what's happening right now. Is Max got asked about adjusting so quickly after the trade, and he was like, "Yeah, I either had to fight it or I had to accept it," and so I accepted it, and there was no time, in his words, to second guess or wish that something else was different. He just had to accept that right now he is a Dallas Maverick and he's being asked to play, tonight almost 40 minutes. And, Jason Kidd praised him and what he's doing on both sides of the floor. And it's showing up, and the whole team's doing that.
I think it's important, and Bob, you started to make the point. For us on the outside of watching this team and what they've been going through from an injury standpoint and the personnel changes that they've made, what's important is what's in the locker room and the men who believe in what they're doing night in and night out, starting at the top from Jason Kidd, filtering down to these players, and they're playing with a chip on their shoulder. I think tonight's matchup against Golden State allowed them to be able to have the opportunity to do that. What happened?
Nothing. Caleb Kroll is in the chat, and he really wants Tanner to say goodnight to him.
Well, say goodnight, Tanner. Did you say goodnight already?
I did. I'm sorry. I missed it.
Racist.
Tanner, I need you to be more supportive to our fans.
I'm working on it.
Okay, well, work a little harder, buddy.
Okay, Tim.
But at the same time, good on them for realizing that they still have the chance to try to make something happen, even with how shorthanded that they are. I think the matchup lended itself to being able to have an opportunity to play a certain way against a Golden State team that isn't necessarily playing all that big themselves. So kudos to them for taking advantage of that matchup. But at the same time, getting 42 points from Kyrie Irving in nearly 40 minutes of play, he's played over 40 minutes coming into this game, 4 straight games. My man needs the All-Star break. Even though he's going to be participating in it, he needs a break because the sustainability of what he's doing right now, given the injury situation that they have, I don't know how much longer he can continue to keep this up because they're asking a ton of Kyrie at this point to give them what he's giving them every night right now.
I mean, he's doing it. And again, I said this on the pregame show, slightly bigger audience here. Yes, the back injury is not something to be forgotten, but as far as I understand through his own words, it's not something that's affecting him right now. It's just a concern that the more the minutes pile up, the more hits he takes, that at some point it could be re-aggravated and it could become an issue again. Right now, again, there's extra work and stuff, but, this is not a guy necessarily that's like, actively hurt. It's just he has a serious health concern that just isn't fully going to go away. So on one hand, the more he piles up the minutes, yes, the more it's a concern. On the other hand, Dallas needs him to play 40 minutes every night. And, they're not going to make it to the playoffs if he is not playing. They're not winning this game if he doesn't play 40 minutes. They're not going to make it to the playoffs if they aren't winning games like this. And if they get to the playoffs and Kyrie is out of gas and burnt out and just doesn't, isn't arriving in his best shape, well, you weren't going to make it there anyway if he isn't putting in this type of workload right now. So it's not a great situation because there's not a player coming back who's going to specifically help reduce his workload. Anthony Davis will help to an extent. You at least have a focal point on the offensive end that you can get the ball into. There is no Kyrie level guard on this roster coming back at any point this season. They're not going to sign one. There is no scenario where they're going to get a guard who can take some of the pressure or duplicate some of what Kyrie provides for this team. And that's tough. And there's not you're stuck. There's no workaround. So either you make it to the playoffs and it works and it keeps working, or it doesn't. I don't really see any choice but to keep playing him a lot of minutes right now because he's the best player on this team, and you just gotta trust him. You gotta trust the stretch he's on.
Want to feel just optimistic about one thing real quick?
Sure.
After tomorrow night, there's only 3 back-to-backs the rest of the season.
Oh my gosh, how about that?
The rest of the season, and so, obviously those are the things that. I mean, in this reality now, if hopefully AD is able to come back like sometime in the month of February, but who even knows? Maybe Stein will be able to share something with us about that later in the show. Maybe not, but with Kyrie and AD, those are the games that you're really paying attention to, and with Klay to a degree as well. Klay doesn't play the same level of minutes as Kyrie and ostensibly AD would, but like those guys are getting up there. They're on the other side of 30, and so. The fewer of those you have, the more time off in between games you have, to where if Kyrie does have to go 40, he can without, potentially compromising himself for the next game, because every game is going to matter for this team from here on out.
Real quick before we let you go, Tim, how was the atmosphere tonight at the American Airlines Center?
Normal.
Okay.
Nothing out of the ordinary that I saw.
Okay. That's a step in the right direction.
I guess I would say, and I'm not the only one who observed this, there was a higher percentage share of Warriors fans there tonight than I would be accustomed to. But beyond that, everything was about, and I'm saying there was, usually about, for a big popular team like that, usually about a quarter of the fan base is going to be, the road team, maybe a touch more. Felt like it was more like a third or 40% tonight.
Okay.
Well, that'll be put to the test Friday, Feb 21 against the Pelicans. We'll see how many Pels fans travel.
Let's just see how many travels for that game. Tim, as always, we appreciate you, my man. We will talk to you tomorrow during our pregame show and our postgame show, as well as the Mavericks play on the second night of a back-to-back as they welcome in Jimmy Butler's old team in the Miami Heat tomorrow night at the American Airlines Center. I appreciate the time, my man.
It's tonight. Tonight
that is true. We made it. It's today.
It is later.
Yes.
Later on today.
Yeah, later today when they play again.
That's right.
Yes.
We will talk to you then. Appreciate you.
See y'all.
Bye, Tim.
That's our Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato reporting live from the American Airlines Center. When we come back here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show, the turning points of this game is some of the moments in place and players that define how the Mavericks were able to get it done despite a dicey end toward this game for the Mavericks. And a little bit later on our show, we'll get some updates when it comes to Anthony Davis with our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. Stay right there.
But first, let's talk about signs. Fans were holding up posters on neon paper the other day. But how about if your sign was made of neon? You can get that from our friends at Saturday Neon, started by two college buddies. They make officially licensed collegiate logo LED neon signs, perfect for your home, office, dorm room, fan cave, or bar. They have an essential collection featuring 50 of the biggest schools across the country and counting for only $75, including Texas, A&M, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and a whole lot more. Unlike traditional neon, these signs won't break or shatter, but they still give you that classic uniform glow that you know and love. Devin Harris is a fan of the Wisconsin one. I wonder if he was able to get one for his man cave. They last up to 100,000 hours. That's more than 11 years. Nico will be gone by then, so you'll be enjoying your sign for years to come. They're super easy to install, and they're low voltage, so they don't get really hot. They're always safe to the touch, which is great if you got kiddos around. Head over to SaturdayNeon.com and use code DLLS for 10% off your favorite sign.
Let me talk to you about Rugged Road, RuggedRoadOutdoors.com, where you can get nice coolers like the one I got sitting next to me right here on set. Rugged Road is dedicated to creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the very best. Our products are designed with the highest quality materials and craftsmanship, ensuring they perform in the toughest conditions, whether you're on land or water. Rugged Road gear is built to accompany you on every adventure. Crafted to handle the toughest conditions and environments, their coolers are built to last, ensure they keep up with any adventure. Their coolers are guaranteed to keep their contents cool for up to 7 days, but oftentimes much longer than that. They're perfect for a variety of outdoor activities, from tubing to camping to tailgating as well. These coolers are designed to meet the needs of every outdoor or sports enthusiast. So gear up for your next adventure with Rugged Road coolers. Reliable, durable, and built to be used. Rugged Road is your ultimate outdoor companion. Head to RuggedRoadOutdoors.com and use code DLLS for 10% off today. Before we get to some of the key moments that define how the Mavericks are able to get this done over the Golden State Warriors tonight, 111-107. Let's continue with some of our super chats this evening. Let's get to J.R. Erickson with the $9.99 super chat. Kyrie Irving's leadership better than the Mavs front office leadership.
Not just better than. That's a lot of graders.
That's a lot of graders.
And also, J.R. Erickson, you did not tell a lie. And thank you very much.
Appreciate the 99.
That's a very true statement.
The $9.99 super chat. Mr. Smoke _show back in with the super chat with us. Appreciate you. They didn't have to score 130 points, Bobby. This team is resilient. 7 blocks again tonight for this team.
It's one of those excuse me. It's one of those things where it's like sometimes being wrong in a win sucks. I need to protect the agenda. You know, I was saying before the game I said they got to score a lot of points because they're just not going to get a lot of rebounds. And tonight they won with 111. I don't know how many more times that'll happen, but maybe I think I should just zip it. Don't speak in absolutes. Only a Sith speaks in absolutes.
Let's get to Brian Roby with the $4.99 super chat. Hate the organization, but the players are leaving it all out there.
I mean, You know,
Appreciate your contribution.
absolutely. I mean,
The players are leaving it all on the floor, though.
they're
That is
wearing
for
they're
sure.
wearing a Mavs logo, but they're their own people, and those guys are playing hard right now.
They are. Let's get to Chris Stuckey real quick with the $5 super chat. Back at the hotel after watching an awesome Mavs dub. Miss Luka, but had fun. Hashtag MFFL.
Wins are fun, man. I'm glad you had fun. Were you watching at the game, or were you watching somewhere and now you went home afterward or went to the hotel afterward? If you're at the game, let us know what the atmosphere was like in there. Tim said it was pretty cool, but Warriors games are always weird, man. You got like this constant fear of Steph, but also like awe and amazement at what he's doing.
And it was
very
realized.
exhilarating experience. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, because it was realized in that fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Steph and Jimmy Butler started doing Steph and Jimmy Butler things in the fourth quarter. In fact, taking a lead at one point. By the way, real quick, shout out to Tim Legler, who was on the call for ESPN.
Shout out Tim Legler,
our teammate here at the All City Network. He was on
friend. You're like BFFs.
I know, right? Shout out to Tim.
real life best friends.
Met him in person actually for the first time tonight, so that was really cool. So shout out to Tim Legler, our All City Network teammate. But yeah, let's get to some of those moments, Bobby, especially in the second half. The Mavericks used a lot of big runs to start off the game. I mean, the first quarter got off to a 15-6 start in the first 4 minutes. Klay Thompson hit a couple threes. Max Christie knocked down a three. Then in the second quarter, Klay Thompson scored the first 8 points of the second quarter for the Mavericks. In fact, they got off to what was an 18-5 start in that quarter to take a 14-point lead with 7.5 minutes left in that second quarter. But the Warriors were able to close with a 20-7 run in the final 7.5 minutes to be within one at halftime. And then you go to the third quarter. Again, the Mavericks open up the first 5 minutes of that third quarter on a 20-6 run. Kyrie Irving knocking down 3 straight three-pointers, including that one in transition, the heat check 3 that he knocked down. And at that point, you're feeling really good about the way that the Mavericks are playing. But the Warriors, again, they close the deficit. They go on a 16-6 run over the final 7 minutes to close it within 5, going into a dramatic fourth quarter where, again, the Mavericks start off on a big run. They go on an 11-4 start to lead 94-82 after a Kyrie Irving three-pointer with 8.5 minutes left. But then, Bobby, we just mentioned it, Stephen Curry started doing Stephen Curry things. He leads a 13-2 charge, capped off by what was a Curry three-pointer, and the Warriors went up 102-101 with 3:30 left. That was their first lead of the game since it was 6-4 in the first quarter, and from there,
You thought it was game over.
it felt like that inevitable Steph Curry run.
You were very sad.
No, I was. It felt like the first time around in Golden State where Stephen Curry took over in the fourth quarter, was able to do the whole night thing. Like it felt like that was coming again. But in the final 3:30, the Mavericks were the ones that were able to make some plays, even with some of the things that were happening down the stretch that kind of got you a little bothered based off of what was happening.
Yeah, I mean they botched some stuff. I mean, like whenever Steph got it going, I think it's very the way that you can tell that they haven't had a lot of practice time is because they're messing up a lot of things that seem second nature. Whenever you see a team that practices together and has that sort of chemistry and communication down. Against DeRozan at the end of the or at the end of overtime, is that the one when they doubled him, or was that?
Oh, they're going to the when he made the one time in the fourth quarter.
The winner, the one where he split the double team.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
that was
overtime,
the game
right?
winner. Yeah, it was
Okay.
overtime. Yeah.
So that one, and then there was a play where Christie was on Steph. Steph came around a screen. They doubled Steph in the corner, and then they both turned their head on Steph, thinking that they had somebody else, and then neither were on Steph. Steph got the ball back and made a three. Both of those plays, the DeRozan game winner and that Steph three to put them ahead in the corner, Christie was involved in. And Christie's a smart guy, but they've had, maybe 1.5 practices since he joined the team. So they probably haven't drilled, hey, what do we do in these double team coverages against a guy like Steph?
I wouldn't help off Steph, though.
Yeah. But like, okay, maybe at the I don't know this to be true, but maybe at the Lakers, if you double, then you switch, or you double and then peel off, or whatever. Or it could just be a mistake because they're not used to. I think the other guy in that situation was Kessler Edwards. I'm pretty sure, and it's like, okay, well, Kessler Edwards never plays either, so there are a lot of those like mix-ups. And there was another play where Christie took an inbound pass, was trying to dribble it up the floor, get it across the half-court line, but then kind of tried to go behind the back because the Warriors were putting pressure on, and he got it stripped. And just like Kessler Edwards and Max Christie both tried Draymond at the rim in the final couple minutes. Like, you got to know better than that. Draymond in the final 5 minutes, Draymond becomes a god on defense. He is a freak down the stretch. He's so good. And, so some of that stuff, but I chalk that up to inexperience, to, not a lot of practices or whatever. And so overcoming those, mental and tactical lapses against a team like the Warriors, who, even though Jimmy's new to the team, he's not new to the league.
Sure.
Steph and Draymond have been playing together forever. It was impressive that they were able to win despite those things, because normally you would think in crunch time, the team with more good players is going to be the team that wins. And Kyrie was the best player on the floor tonight, but in crunch time, Golden State decided to take him out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
They were forcing other Mavs to beat them. And it's kind of a miracle that Kyrie got those 3 free throws.
On the
I don't think he deserved those. That was, he would have got 2.
Yeah.
He still would have got some. He just would have got 2. But, otherwise Kyrie barely scored it all down the stretch. It had to be the other guys. And that gives me concern moving forward, because that same thing happened against the Kings, and the Mavs offense just completely ground to a halt. So they have to find some answers there. But they played well enough for the first 42 minutes of the game to where it didn't matter.
Sure. And you look at what happened in the final few minutes of this game. You mentioned the Kyrie Irving got the rip-through call on the foul, was able to knock down 3 free throws. That gave them a 104-102 lead with 2:20 left. And then as the game went on, one of the things that defined the game in a negative for the Mavericks, the Warriors were dominating on the offensive glass, and one of the key offensive rebounds in this game, Steph Curry got to put back to tie it at 104 with 2 minutes left. But then we keep talking about how Kyrie Irving made play after play after play. Kyrie Irving on the very next possession goes down and drills a three-pointer with 1:47 left. That gave him his 42nd point, of the game. It's just another example of when they needed plays tonight, Kyrie Irving was the one to deliver not only the 3, taking the charge on Jimmy Butler as well. He made all the necessary plays, and without those plays, you don't win tonight's game, even despite the amount of smoked layups that the Warriors had. The Mavericks needed every last one of the plays, and then finally someone else was able to deliver a bucket, because it felt like at times, and I'm interested to hear your thought on it too, it felt like other guys at times did not want to take shots in key moments, whether it be Najee Marshall at times, Kessler Edwards. There were certain guys that just did not want to take the shots in the big moments, but Marshall finally stepped up and gave him the go-ahead bucket, with 25 seconds left to give him 10 points on the night. But they needed someone else to take a shot and be confident enough to do it in the right moment, and Najee Marshall was the one to come up with the big shot tonight for Dallas.
Yeah, so if you know that Kyrie is going to get double-teamed coming off a screen, you have 2 choices. 1, either you just stop setting screens for him and let him ISO, or 2, everyone has to know what to do in those situations. The Mavs, with Luka and Kyrie and really the previous iteration of the team, so like Luka, Kyrie, Derek Jones, PJ, or Josh Green, or whoever else was out there, Tim Hardaway with the big, whether it's Lively, Gafford, Dwight Powell, Maxey, it doesn't matter. Like, all of those guys went through that so many times over the years together, to where no matter where the ball handler was on the floor, no matter where the double team came from, whether it was out at midcourt, on the wing, in the middle of the floor, doesn't matter. Everybody knew what to do. In this game, it's like Kyrie, Kessler Edwards, Max Christie, Omax, and Brandon Williams out there. It's like, well, none of them know what to do.
Right.
Like if Kyrie's getting double teamed, none of them know where to go. But that Najee play came out of an ATO, which I honestly did not like that they called a timeout there. I thought they should have just kept playing, but it is what it is. It worked. It worked because Kyrie got the double team. They set a screen, and everybody knew exactly what to do. And they were able to manufacture a way where Steph was sliding over, rotating over to Najee, so his momentum was taking him this way, and Najee decided to dribble this way, and he's bigger and stronger than Steph. Steph wasn't able to recover and get in position to contest the shot, and Najee got to his floater, which is like, that's his go-to shot. So it worked out really well. Everything was quick. Everything was decisive. Everything went the exact way that it was supposed to. So really, really well executed. But that's going to, again, something that they have to drill and practice when they're able to get one, which their next practice will be Wednesday or Thursday, probably Thursday, February 20th will be the next time that they practice. They'll have to practice what happens when Kyrie gets double teamed because the book is going to come out pretty soon. If you double Kyrie and these guys are freezing with the ball, or they're choking, or they're not making reads quickly enough, teams are going to be like, all right, well, let's just do that all game.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait till the final 5 minutes. We can just do that all game. And we're going to force them to take a bunch of garbage shots. But they were much better prepared to handle that on that play in particular. and really even throughout the fourth quarter than they were the other night against Sacramento, whenever every possession was like I'm white-knuckling in my chair watching this. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen, but they were able to make it better.
And they'll need to gain that confidence going forward because with the injuries that they are dealing with right now, Kyrie Irving will continue to be the focal point of this offense, and other guys will have to step up and make plays and be confident to make those plays in key stretches and give them credit. They were able to do some of that tonight. Najee Marshall with the big bucket for the Mavericks to help deliver a win. Max Christie knocking down a couple of free throws to ice it late for the Mavericks to improve to 29 and 26 on the season with their win tonight over the Golden State Warriors. Let's take our final break here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. When we come back, we will welcome in our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, the latest on Anthony Davis and what is next for the Mavericks when it comes to their newest big man on this team going forward. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs postgame show.
But first, just want to shout out the nearly 500 of you staying up late, burning the literal midnight oil with us here on the DLS Sports YouTube channel, hanging out with us after that thrilling Mavs win over the Dubs. They got a dub against the Dub, 111-107. We cover every single game. That's pregame and postgame for all 82 Mavs games. We also do the same thing for the Stars, who are killing it right now, and for the Cowboys, whose season is over, and the Cowboys seem to just be killing their fans. Just like this team sometimes. And then we're Rangers, their spring training just started, yesterday? Today?
Jeff Wilson
is out there.
Yeah.
And we got pre- and post-game covered, not for all 162, but for, a lot of them. So all of that stuff is going to be on our YouTube. We're live 5 times a week. It's all free here on YouTube. If you want to support the channel, what you can do is subscribe, like the streams, share them, comment, and be active in the chat, whatever. But if you want to take your support one step further, you can scan the QR code. I can't reach it. I need to go under. Oh, whoa, that's so much easier.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks,
that's right there. Wow, it's so easy. You can click that QR code, scan the QR code. You can click the link in the description below or go to alldls.com/diehard, where for $4 a month, we're running a limited time. It's tied with the NBA trade deadline and spring training, so it's going to go by pretty quick, but limited time deal. Get a discount on the Die Hard offer when you sign up. You will get a whole lot of benefits. You'll get a free shirt right when you sign up. Boom. Pays for almost 75% of the membership right there. All you got to do is handle shipping. We got more than 30 shirts to choose from. You also get a discount on any other shirts, hoodies, flags, cups, and mugs that you want. We got hats coming out soon as well, I'm told. We got a Luka shirt up on the site right now. I think it's 50% off. So if you want a Magic shirt, hey, now's the time. Act fast. You also get to join the DLS Discord lounge and hang out with fellow diehards online. It's a great, wholesome community. You also get to read the entire website, all the premium paywalled content. You get a discount on live events too, and a whole lot more. So thank you very much for supporting us. Let's get back to basketball.
AllDLLS.com. Become a diehard member and join us today. Over 16,600 strong in terms of our subscribers as well on DLLS Sports. Make sure you become part of that family, our family here as well. Coming up momentarily, we'll have our National NBA insider, Marc Stein, joining us from.
There he is.
He's gonna
almost there. He is
almost
here. He comes
here in just a moment. We'll be talking to him, of course, about the latest when it comes to Anthony Davis and the Mavericks. Going to be needing their new superstar big man in order to try and make a run. Give credit to their other big man, their other superstar. Who played like a big man tonight, Kyrie Irving, with the 42 points that he had in tonight's game. The Mavericks desperately needing to find a way to get some semblance of big man on the floor tonight. With that, let's welcome in our national NBA insider, Marc Stein. You can always dial up the Stein line at the Stein line. Dapper Stein with the Andrew Whitworth hoodie sweater look tonight. Looks good.
Love it.
I love it. I need to start pulling that look off myself, to be quite honest with you. But shout out to our guy Marc Stein hanging out with us here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. Marc, Mavericks get a much-needed win tonight as they got one more game before they head into the All-Star break tomorrow against Jimmy Butler's old team in the Miami Heat on the second night of a back-to-back. Let's start there before we get to Anthony Davis. Obviously, your thoughts on the Mavericks and the way that they got the win tonight.
I mean, it's crazy to think how close this team was to a 4-game winning streak. But, I mean, with the weight that is on this franchise and with everything going on, and to have a starting front court that included Omax and Kessler Edwards listed as the starting center tonight, to find a way to beat a desperate Golden State team, a team that needed to win and wanted to win as much as the Mavs, expected to win. They came in here feeling really good about themselves, the way they've started the Jimmy Butler era. So, and this is a massive, massive W for a team that was desperate for it. And I mean, something tells me, I know I'm joining you guys incredibly late, man. I just had it. As you guys know, I spent quite a bit of time covering the Warriors at the outset of their dynasty period. They made 5 straight trips to the finals, and I was basically like an embedded correspondent for SportsCenter for like the first 3 of those runs. And so it's always kind of a back to school night feel for me when I'm around this team, because there are so many people. I mean, obviously player wise, only Stephen Curry and Draymond Green are holdovers from that area, but coaches, staff, so I was just deep in conversation with some Warriors folks and totally lost track of time and looked at my watch like, oh my, did I just miss the whole show? So I'm so glad that I'm as relieved as the Mavs were to hold on to this win that I actually made the show.
Well, we appreciate you hopping on with us here, and obviously for the Mavericks, things continuing to move forward. They get the win tonight. They play Miami tomorrow before they end the All-Star break. But all eyes will continue to turn to this team after the All-Star break as well, with the injury situation that they're dealing with, namely with Anthony Davis. Let's start there, and the latest with him in this left adductor strain and what the timeline potentially and the treatment plan looks like going forward for AD.
Yeah, so I reported this earlier today. I mean, there is still, from the Mavericks, we still have not received firm word on the treatment course that will be taken or a timeline. And then I spoke to one source who has been briefed on the details, and I was told that, the fact that we haven't received a timetable to this point is because a firm timetable just hasn't been established beyond the notion that they're going to move very, very cautiously at this point. How many weeks it's going to be, I think you still have to look at this in terms of weeks with an S. Obviously, the fact that an all-star break is coming up helps the situation. But look, when I reported this during the Super Bowl that Anthony Davis was going to be out, the term that was relayed to me was indefinitely, and I think that is exactly what we're witnessing when you don't know, when there is no recovery time scale on it, and when surgery has not been 100% ruled out. I mean, that pretty much is the definition of indefinitely. We know this is going to be an absence of some significance, but how specifically long that is just not being stated, relayed, and specified. So until we get a specific timeline, it's hard to speculate how long it's going to be. The most definitive kind of word sent to me is that the Mavericks and Davis himself, they're going to proceed very, very cautiously because they know any long-term ambitions any ambitions this season and beyond that this team has right now rely so heavily on Anthony Davis being right. So I think they're still evaluating things, going through stuff, but that's the best answer kind of I can share as to why, because I think, this, I reported again, I first reported during the Super Bowl that the Mavericks knew they were looking at an absence of some significance, a TBD amount of time. That was Sunday. We're now almost to Thursday, and we still don't have any further clarity on the severity. So, I mean, that was certainly not expected. I think by now we all expected to have a more clear picture, and we still don't from, an official team standpoint.
What does this mean then moving forward for the rest of this team? Because the amount of injuries that they're dealing with, namely in their front court, no Derek Lively, no Daniel Gafford for at least the next couple of weeks, according to the team as well. How does this team try to forge on with the lack of front court help when it comes to what they're trying to achieve going forward here?
Well, I mean, it's funny. Just as I was walking here, Kyrie Irving passed me down the hall to go to his post-game interview, which is happening in a room nearby. I mean, you literally cannot ask him to do any more than he did tonight. I mean, 40 plus and the game-turning charge taken, I think just exemplifies how big this team has to deep right now. Remember, they have very limited financial flexibility in relation to luxury tax apron positioning. So, I mean, theoretically, they could go out and sign another minimum big man, but then you could only keep him for a matter of days before whatever financial wiggle room they have expires. So are they going to, they're obviously just going to have to get through the Miami game as is. And given what they asked of everybody who was available, it's, even though the Mavs are the home team, and it's going to be a very taxing second end of the back-to-back. You have the All-Star break. The small sliver of fortune that the Mavs do have is they have a Friday start after the All-Star break as opposed to Thursday. That does buy them one more day. I think they are exploring the big man market, such as it is, to see if there is anything out there they can find. But again, they're so limited because of their luxury tax situation. They couldn't be a factor in the buyout market. And it's just, the optionality that the Mavs have at this point is incredibly limited. So, I mean, I think really all they can do is try to gut through right now as is and hope that, on the other side of the All-Star break, do you get PJ Washington back? Gafford 2 weeks, given the length of the All-Star break. I mean, is that, hopefully they see him relatively soon after coming back from the All-Star break. It's not going to be quite 2 weeks when they have to go back to work. So presumably his absence is going to extend into the period. They jump right into games on the 21st, home against New Orleans, then play a pretty daunting, quick road swing to go to California to deal with the Warriors. And then, of course, the February 25th game against Luka and the Lakers, that will be as anticipated a game as there is on the second half schedule, right up there with, of course, April 9th here. So they just don't have a lot of directions to go and turn to try to get through this beyond the way they got through this game tonight.
Is there anything to feel good about right now, Marc?
Yeah.
On the health front?
They won.
On the health front. Like you mentioned, PJ ruled out for this past game and tomorrow night's game. Is the expectation that he's back right away? Is there any update on Caleb Martin? And also Dwight Powell, I know he's distant third center on this team, but they could really use a center right now, and he's been out for a really long time too. And I'm just curious about those guys as well.
Dwight's been ever present in street clothes for, a very long stretch now. So he's going to need some time to get back. I can't see any scenario. I mean, I have to think he's, still a ways away. But, in all fairness, I need to check and make sure and get a better, I will try to get a firmer read on his situation. So Caleb Martin, I think that was also another situation that was at least going to be weeks. I think Tim McMahon reported a 2 to 3 week estimate on Martin's return. I have to say that the projections I heard were not as rapid as that. So it is not clear how soon they will see Caleb, and they could really use his length on the wing and experience. So Good news on the health. I didn't hear the on the health front part. I don't know that there's any pretzel I can twist to that you would consider good news on the health front at this point.
Before we let you go, we want to thank our television audience for joining us here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. We will be back tomorrow for our pregame show as the Mavericks take on the Miami Heat in the final game before the All-Star break. We'll be joined by our National NBA insider, Marc Stein, during the postgame show as well. Visit alldlls.com. Become a diehard member and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports on the way out the door.
I have a question, if I may. I mean, this has been a pretty dour. Our chat has been pretty downbeat here. I mean, what were the vibes like in the first 3 segments before I came on here with all this sobering discussion?
It was good. It's been good.
Yeah, it's been good. I mean,
it's been good.
Any win is a good win these days for this team, given everything that they have gone through and continue to go through. The fact that they are 3 games above 500 at this stage of the season is honestly remarkable. And the fact that they have a chance to finish potentially 4 games above 500 in their pre-All-Star break schedule, I don't think, given what this team has experienced over the last, not just the course of the year, but obviously over the last now almost couple of weeks, that anyone would have predicted that they would be above 500 and doing so heading into the All-Star break. So I think for Mavericks fans, any win that they can get is a good one, given what is coming down the road for this team, even with the guys that they're trying to get back on this squad going forward here.
And chat room wise, what are all my friends saying?
They like your look. Charlie Saturday appreciates your fit tonight as well. He's in there hanging out with us as well.
There's a lot of Laker fans in the chat. There's been a lot of back and forth about, Lakers lost tonight, Mavs won tonight.
Luka was like it was a negative 19.
Luka had a poor game, but is still a great player. There's a lot of, Marc, as you know, we're a divided nation. We're a divided nation, and
Mavs nation.
Sports is supposed to bring us together, and everyone is feeling a lot of stuff right now.
Yeah,
and we're all kind of just going through it together.
Let's ask you real quick: what was the vibe like for you in the arena, given what transpired on Monday?
I mean, look, I obviously was not here Monday night. Tonight, I'm not sitting there looking for, size of signage, and I'm not. That is not a focus for me. So but I have to. I didn't detect any real tension or dismay. I mean, look, I think this team is playing so hard and playing to its maximum capacity, given the injuries and the state of the roster right now, that I think in the moment, the crowd tonight got swept up in that. I mean, this team led for the bulk of the game, and then Steph Curry hits that 3 to put the Warriors up, and you thought, okay, Q collapse number 2 in a row, or dagger defeat number 2 in a row, and the Mavs steeled themselves, found a way to get through it, and win this game against, again, a very desperate Golden State team. And I mean, I think you saw both coaches look like they were ready to tackle a ref tonight. I mean, it was spicy. The game was super spicy, but from my vantage point, I felt I was expecting much more negativity, tension, something closer to everything I read about and all the clips I watched from the Sacramento game. And to me, I really didn't see any of that.
I do want to take at least one moment to acknowledge, it's got to be really, really tough to play around the trade deadline. Whether your team makes a move, whether you're the one that gets traded or whatever, there's just a lot of noise. And then there's always a week and a half between the deadline and the All-Star break. But it really feels like the quality of the games, over the last week and a half have been so high. All these games have been close. Everybody's playing hard. Everybody's locked in. It's been some really entertaining basketball, at least, in Mavs universe land over the last 5-6 games.
which you wouldn't, because you know what? Sometimes, I mean, I think that I would imagine, again, I wasn't in two places at once, so I wasn't in Salt Lake City tonight, but that is the kind of classic trap game where the Lakers just beat Utah at home. They now go to Utah right before the break. Anyone who pays attention to the NBA would think that the Lakers are going to roll there and win that one in a walk, and the Jazz surprise them, and that's kind of more of the funky, surprising results you would expect to see this close to All-Star break, and when maybe some guys have checked out mentally. But I mean, that is the thing you have to say. I mean, Jason Kidd has as limited a roster right now as you could pretty much have. I mean, he still has Kyrie Irving, so I mean, he still has a guy who can go out and win the game for you. He still has a guy who, even when you look at Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and the firepower that Golden State has on the other side, I mean, this was Kyrie's night. I mean, he was the standout in the game, in the box score, on the floor. But I mean, again, you look at that starting lineup, and I don't think, I mean, what would have been the odds for any regular season game this year that wasn't game 81 or 82 with playoff seeding already clinched, where Omax and Kessler Edwards are your starters? Like, there's no way to calculate how long those odds would have been.
Can I do a quick trivia game with Marc before we go home?
Oh, sure, yeah.
All right, so Marc, tonight, Kyrie Irving, 42 points and 0 assists. All right. I won't ask you who the last two players to score at least 42 points and hand out 0 assists are in the NBA, because I could give you 5 billion guesses. You would never get it. One is Zach LaVine and the other is Kenneth Lofton Jr. You never would have gotten that one, ever.
No,
but
right. You are
only 2 players in Mavs history have scored more than 42 points in a game while also dishing out 0 assists. Can you name those players?
Marc Aguirre.
Ding, 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 ding. And
wow, that's good. Okay, give me more than 40 points and no assists.
More than 42 points and 0 assists.
Man, I love Marc Aguirre. Why was that such an easy guess?
Marc Stein just calling Marc Aguirre a ball hog.
You did. I love Marc Aguirre. Man, 40 plus points with 0 assists.
Charlie's guessing. We got a Nick Van Exel guess, a Jason Terry guess.
Nowitzki.
You what?
Please tell me it's not Dirk Nowitzki.
Marc, it is Dirk Nowitzki. This happened for him in 2009. He and Marc Aguirre both once scored 44 points in a game while handing out 0 assists.
That is a great stat, and sources say it might be relayed to Dirk Nowitzki tomorrow by somebody on this podcast.
His record is still safe. It's still safe for now.
You know what, though? I bet Nowitzki took no charges in that game.
Probably not, if I had to guess.
That up. I don't think that's in any database, but I'm going to go out on a limb.
Probably not. He probably did face some double teams though. But
would the Corella Strader have guessed those same 2 names, or did you had to look that up?
I did look that up. I didn't know how many players had done it. Like I figured that Kyrie had the record, but once I saw the names, I was like, that would have been the 2 I guessed, honestly. All the other big time scores in Mavs history, of which there really haven't been many, but they were all big assist guys. You think like Luka, really any guards. Ro Blackman also once scored 42 in a game with 0 assists. And Ro, I could see that because he's always coming off screens, not really playmaking, but yeah.
I should have known that would be when you started saying trivia question, Jackson Rowe of the Warriors did not get in the game tonight, but he's their recent two-way signing, which I was incredibly excited to see him because he is the 13th player in NBA history from my alma mater, Cal State Fullerton. So when you started talking trivia question, because I'm so dense and myopic. I actually thought you were going to say, Stein, can you name the other 12 NBA players from Cal State Fullerton besides Jackson Rowe? And then I realized, this is a Mavericks podcast, idiot. They're not going to ask you.
Dude, that is a deep cut, though.
That's hilarious.
That was a much more appropriate trivia question than the one I was hoping for.
Well, there you go.
I appreciate that.
Marc, as always, we appreciate your time, sir. We will talk to you tomorrow when the Mavericks take on the Miami Heat on the second night of a back-to-back.
Before I go, how crazy is that Jimmy Butler here tonight and now the Heat here tomorrow? That's quite entertaining.
It is. It is.
You'll get the full story over the next 24 hours.
Possibly.
And if I think my memory serves me correct, as I was walking around pregame at the arena, Caleb Martin, who was in the building, I believe, had on a Jimmy Butler Miami Heat 22 jersey as he was walking around a little bit prior to the game. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
I didn't see that. I mean, I saw him he did not have the jersey on during the game, so I didn't catch that.
Yeah, because I don't think his twin brother was showing up for a random Mavericks Warriors game. So I believe that was Caleb himself walking around the Jimmy Butler jersey.
His brother is wrapped up in some other trade drama.
That's right.
How do we do audience-wise tonight?
We're still sitting over 500, man.
Yeah.
That's
So
nice.
shout out to our DLLS Mavs
This
family.
is deep night DLLS Mavs.
For sure. Charlie Saturday says, Marc said, this isn't ready. This fit isn't ready for bed. Keep the cameras on. He's got a dapper fit tonight. He looks good tonight. So we're going to let you go, though, because we know you got to get some rest. Second night of it back-to-back. So do we. So we're going to get out of here and let you go. And I appreciate your reporting, as always. And we'll talk to you tomorrow, sir.
See you guys tomorrow. Be good.
All right.
Bye, Marc.
That's our National NBA Insider, Marc Stein, going to join us here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. Just a quick housekeeping real quick. Just a look at the standings before with the night's games completed now. The Mavericks remain in 8th in the West at 29-26. They're a game behind the Minnesota Timberwolves for the 7th spot. They're 30-25. The Clippers are at 30-23. So the Mavericks a full 2 games behind the Los Angeles Clippers. With the loss for the Lakers tonight, they dropped to 5th in the West at 32-20. So the Mavericks remain ahead of the Sacramento Kings and the Golden State Warriors. The Suns lost again tonight. So they've now lost 3 straight. They're 26-28.
Team is a disaster
on the season. So all 30 teams were in action tonight across the association as we move toward the NBA All-Star break. But the Mavericks do remain in 8th and assure themselves to be above 500 when we get to the All-Star break, which begins after tomorrow night's action.
Oh, my God. Okay, so I was going to say, man, the Mavs are playing the Heat, and that's catching them at a tough time because Miami just steamrolled the Thunder. Miami was up big in OKC earlier tonight.
Yeah, they lost.
And then they got outscored by 24. They scored 8 points in the fourth quarter, and they took home a 14-point L.
Yeah.
Or I guess they brought that to Dallas. So they'll be a tired, pissed off, or dejected Miami Heat team tomorrow night. So that could be good or bad. I guess you'll have to tune into the pregame show in 4 hours to find out. Yeah,
the Thunder walked them down and walked them down pretty good to get that win tonight. So
God bless.
And I mean, the Thunder and the Cavs, the story of the first for the pre-All-Star break schedule, the way that they played so far this year. Our pregame show tomorrow will begin at 6:45 p.m. Bobby will have to deal with another later-ish start time.
That's normal.
7:30?
Yeah, normal.
You feeling good about that earlier tonight?
Well, I wanted earlier.
Bobby wanted a 5:30 start time for this game. No, I get it, though. Tip-off will be at 7:30 p.m. at the American Airlines Center. Our pregame show will begin at 6:45 p.m. tomorrow evening. We will be joined by our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato, reporting live from the AAC, and then our post-game show will be 15 minutes after the game tomorrow between the Heat and the Mavericks, where we finally get to the All-Star break because, my gosh, we need it. And the Mavericks need it too, with all the health issues that they are dealing with. But the Mavericks get it done tonight at the AAC, 111-107. Shout out to Kyrie Irving dropping 42 points on the Golden State Warriors, knocking down 7 threes. Max Christie knocks down a couple of free throws to Isaac Najee Marshall's bucket. With 25 seconds left is the go-ahead and game winner for the Mavericks as they improve to 29-26 on the season. Thank you to all of you for joining us here on the DLLS Mavs post-game show. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on your way out the door. Download and subscribe to our podcast as well. Check out our latest video as well. I had a chance to sit down with Tim Legler, who was on the call tonight for ESPN to talk about all things Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis as well. So make sure you check out that video on DLLS Sports on our YouTube channel. For our producer, Tanner, for making us look good and sound good. Appreciate you, sir. As always, our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato. That is our Mavericks analyst, Bobby Curla. I'm your host, Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. Mavs get it done 111-107 at home over the Golden State Warriors. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 6:45 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports. Y'all be good. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.